right, hello everyone. Welcome, BA third year students. So, if you're gearing up to explore the incredible world of Indian English literature, then you've landed in the right spot. In this explainer, we're going to break down your syllabus for the Indian English poetry and drama paper, making sure you know exactly what's coming your way. So, what's on the agenda today? Well, here's our roadmap. We'll start with a quick overview of the course itself. Then, we're diving straight into the poetry in Units 1 and 2. After that, we'll switch gears to drama for Units 3 and 4. I'll also point you towards some really helpful books, and we'll finish up by talking about where this can all lead you, career-wise. All right, first things first, let's get a handle on the basics. This is just a quick look at the course structure, so you have a solid foundation before we jump into the details. Okay, so let's just make sure we're all on the same page. This is for the Bachelor of Arts program, specifically for you third-year students. The subject is, of course, English literature, and this paper is your minor or elective. The title? Indian English Poetry and Drama. But what does that really mean? Well, it means you're about to go on this fantastic journey. We're going to see how Indian writers took the English language and made it their own, creating something totally unique and incredibly powerful. All right, let's get to the good stuff. We're diving into the first half of the course now, and it's all about the absolutely beautiful and thought-provoking world of Indian English poetry. So Unit 1 is where it all begins. It really lays the groundwork. We'll start with a brief introduction to Indian English poetry as a whole, and then we get to meet two absolute pioneers. First up is Henry Louis Vivian Derozio. Think of him as one of the first voices of nationalism in poetry. Then we'll shift gears completely and dive into the philosophical and spiritual depths of Sri Aurobindo's work. Two very different but equally important figures. Now, Derozio's Harp of India, this poem is a big deal. It's really a foundational text. We're going to unpack this incredible metaphor he uses, this idea of a broken harp, to talk about India's past glory and to call for, a rebirth of its culture. It's just a fascinating window into that early sense of national identity. And then we take a completely different turn. We go from the political to the philosophical with Sri Aurobindo's Sovereignty. Seriously, whatever you think poetry is, this is something else entirely. It's a massive spiritual epic. We're just looking at the first canto, but it's a deep, deep dive into really big ideas like consciousness, life, and death. I won't lie, it's a challenge, but stick with it, because what you get out of it is just immense. Okay, so for Unit 2, we're fast-forwarding into the modern era, and you'll notice the change right away. The poetry here gets a lot more personal, it's more critical, more psychological, and we're going to meet two poets who completely changed the game, the brilliant A.K. Ramanujan and the fearless Kamala Das. A.K. Ramanujan is just a master at taking everyday things and finding something profound in them. In The Obituary, for example, he looks at his father's life and legacy with this incredible mix of sharp irony and unexpected softness. And then in A River, he really takes poets to task for ignoring real-life suffering. His work is the kind that gets under your skin and makes you think. And then there's Kamala Das. Wow. She's famous for what's called confessional poetry, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's incredibly personal, raw, and brutally honest. We'll read The Old Playhouse, where she tackles the suffocation of a loveless, male-dominated relationship, and The Dance of the Eunuchs, which is just this haunting look at unfulfilled passion. Her poetry is powerful, it's brave, and trust me, it's something you won't forget. All right, so we've talked about poetry. Now let's shift our focus from the page to the stage. The second half of the course, that's Units 3 and 4, is all about the exciting and powerful world of Indian English drama. Unit 3 kind of mirrors how we started with poetry. We'll begin with a quick introduction to the history of Indian drama in English. Then we'll look at a really early, important play that wasn't afraid to tackle social controversy. And after that, a beautiful, symbolic piece from the legend himself, Rabindranath Tagore. So first up in drama, we have The Persecuted by Krishna Mohan Banerjee. Honestly, reading this play is like opening a time capsule. It drops you right into 19th century Bengal, a time of huge social change. We're going to get into all the intense debates they were having back then about religion, social reform, and tradition. It's fascinating stuff. Then we move to Rabindranath Tagore's classic, The Post Office. On the surface, it's a very simple, sweet story about a young boy named Amal who's stuck in his room because he's sick and he just dreams of the world outside. But and this is the magic of Tagore. Beneath that simple story, it's really a profound meditation on huge ideas like freedom, the power of imagination, and what it means to be truly alive. And for our final unit, Unit 4, we're jumping into the post-independence era. This was a really turbulent, exciting time in India's history, and the theater was right there in the middle of it all. We'll be studying two absolutely revolutionary plays that basically rewrote the rules for Indian drama. Okay, get ready for this one. Vijay Tendulkar's Silence, The Court is in Session. This play is an absolute powerhouse. It's structured as a play within a play, where a group of actors stages a mock trial for fun, but it quickly stops being fun and spirals into something dark, exposing all the ugly hypocrisy of society. It's intense, it's unsettling, and it's a must-read for understanding modern Indian drama. And to wrap up our texts, we have Badal Sarkar's Ivam Indrajit. This play is another game changer. It throws out the rulebook of traditional theater to tackle something we can all feel at times, that sense of existential dread. You know, that struggle to find purpose in a repetitive, sometimes meaningless world. The play just perfectly captures the anxiety and frustration of the modern urban middle class. It's brilliant. Okay, so we've covered all these amazing, but sometimes complex poems and plays. To really get the most out of them, you're going to want some good guides. So in this next part, let's talk about some of the essential reference books that will really help you dig deeper. You can think of these books as your secret weapons for the course. For instance, K.R.S. Iyengar's book, Indian Writing in English, is kind of the Bible of this field. It gives you that big, overarching historical view. The other books here will give you critical perspectives and detailed analyses of the text we're studying. Seriously, using these resources is what will take your essays and your understanding to the next level. So you might be wondering, okay, this is all very interesting, but what's the point? How is studying all this old poetry and drama going to help me get a job? That's a fair question. And the answer is it helps in a lot of ways. Let's talk about the incredible skills you're building and where they can actually take you. Think about it. When you learn to break down a complex argument in a play like Tendulkar's, or when you can read between the lines in a poem by Kamala Das, what you're really learning is how to analyze complex information and communicate it clearly. And let me tell you, that is a superpower in today's world. These are the exact skills needed for careers in teaching, research, publishing, editing, journalism, you name it, even the civil services. This course isn't just about reading books, it's a training ground for your mind. So there you have it. That's a quick tour of your syllabus for this paper. We're going to journey from the very beginnings of a national voice in poetry all the way to the tough existential questions being asked on the modern stage. It's going to be a fascinating ride. So I'll just leave you with this one thought to get you started. Which of these poems or plays are you most curious about? I hope you have a fantastic semester filled with new ideas and discoveries. All the best!